up your engine!
XL200 says, Scotty, how do you feel about certain car reviewers saying Fiat Chrysler makes reliable vehicles? I'm assuming that most of them are dishonest, that they're either being paid by Fiat Chrysler or they work for Fiat Chrysler or they're in the advertising business and they want to drum up business with the people. Because everybody in the real world knows it's one of the worst vehicles out there, the Fiat Chrysler vehicles. But, you know, you can't trust anybody today when it comes with an analysis of vehicles unless there's somebody like me who's a mechanic, who actually works on the cars and is honest. I don't care what cars my customers drive. That's their choice. They want to buy a Jaguar, I say, go ahead. You're going to spend a lot of money fixing it. I'd fix them. You know, if you want, go right ahead. It makes no difference to me, but I'll tell you the honest truth. I've lost customers that way because I insulted their Jaguars. They didn't come back. It means nothing to me. I got more customers than I know what to do with, and I'd rather be honest with people and have good karma than tell lies to rip people off and make more and more money. I've known mechanics that they specialize in Jaguars. Of course they tell them they're great cars because they're making a ton of money fixing them. Same thing with that. You can't believe any of those reviewers, and even if they call themselves consumer magazines, who knows what's going on under the table. If you look at the facts, people that write stuff nowadays, whether it's on the internet or on print, they don't get paid much money. I know guys that do that. Woo-wee. Some of them, a magazine pays them maybe, $1,000, $2,000 a month to write articles. Those people are just ripe for a bribe, just like politicians. Here in Texas, in the state senate, they get paid almost nothing for being a state senator, but boy, they'll spend hundreds and thousands or millions of dollars getting elected because there's graft and corruption that goes along with having that position. The same thing with this. They might only get paid $1,000 or $2,000 a month for writing these articles, but boy, they're getting a lot under the table. They must be to say stupid things like Fiat Chrysler makes good vehicles. And yeah, I've seen some of those lists, and I just laugh. Ashley's 80 says, Scotty, Ford dealership uses Motorcraft's SN rated oils, where many oil companies have moved on to SN Plus certification. Do you see a problem here? No, because all that SN Plus stuff is backwards compatible. It's a better oil. You'd use that. Of course, places that have a vested interest in a certain type of oil, they'll continue to sell it because they probably have money invested in selling their oil. In that case, it would be Motorcraft oil. Now, of course, Ford Motor Company isn't an oil company. Somebody else makes the oil, and then they put the name Motorcraft on it, and they got a lot of stuff that they got to sell, and they get it at a discount, so they're making more profit selling to you. If you own one of those, definitely use the SN Plus. It's better oil. And as usual, it takes time for people to catch up with it. Who knows? I remember decades ago, the English went from 6-volt to 12-volt batteries, right? Well, they must have had warehouses of 6-volt batteries because a lot of these English sports cars, when they went to 12 volts, they had two 6-volt batteries in the back seat of them hooked together to make 12 volts. Now, why would they do that? Well, they obviously had a whole bunch of 6-volt batteries lying around they wanted to get rid of. Eventually, they stopped doing that, went to just one 12-volt battery, but it says something about production, and they got stuff they want to sell. They got to get rid of it. As the saying goes, follow the money. Texans247 says, how long do you usually see front suspension issues in the 2015 Camry? Well, they are really well-built cars, and they have solid suspensions. When they wear out, has more to do with where you live and how crappy the roads are. Now, if you live where there's good roads, I've seen them with 200,000, they still got all the original parts on, right? But if you live where there's giant potholes everywhere and you're smashing over, eventually the tie rods will wear out, the ball joints will wear out, and if you really have horrible roads, it can actually wear out the steering rack, and it'll start leaking from being banged, and eventually the seals go bad. So that's more of a basis of what the roads are like where you live and how you drive. I've got customers that don't pay much attention. They hit every pothole on the road. It's going to wear out faster. If you look ahead, you see stuff, and you swerve around them like I do. Drives my wife nuts. She says, what's wrong? I said, there's a big pothole. That's what's wrong. And I'm avoiding it. Well, she doesn't like avoiding quick maneuvers, so it bothers her. But most people, they're happy to avoid the pothole and not smash their car up. So it depends on where you drive and how you drive. Sammy266 says, Scotty, between a 2016 Ford Mustang V6 and the Camaro V6, what would you buy for a long life? Oh, the Mustang by far. If you want, do a little research. You'll see they sell tons more Mustangs than Camaros. They're more fun. They're better cars. And the one thing is, it's a Mustang. There's always going to be parts available for it. The Camaros, they keep talking about, oh, they're going to get rid of them, or then they get rid of them and then they bring them back. They're just not that popular cars. And especially if you're talking about the V6 Mustang, generally guys don't beat the heck out of them. And the Ford V6 engine is much better than the GM V6 engine in terms of how long it's going to last. The V6 GM engines, they're not all that strong. They have problems as they age, and the Ford ones really don't have any particular problems that they use in the Mustangs. Larry 10 says, I got an 01 Chevy Monte Carlo V6. It cranks, but it doesn't start, and there's no trouble codes. The check engine light isn't on. Here's something I see on all those things, especially as they age. Cars are a lot more complex than they used to be. Now, when I was a young mechanic, cranking a car was easy. Power came from the battery to the ignition switch, then from the ignition switch to the starter and to the ignition system. Very simple. They had mechanical fuel pumps, so you didn't have to worry about an electric fuel pump. But modern cars, everything's computerized. Ignition relay. My advice is, if you're not a mechanic like me and you can't check everything, go to AutoZone. They can sell you one. They can show you a picture on the computer and even print it out to show you where the relay is and replace it. And you'll find that that could easily fix your problem, because those relays over time go up. It's just another added safety thing that cars didn't used to have, and like everything else, safety things often break and then nothing happens. As an example, in my house, I got an electric dryer, right? And after I had it a couple of years, it stopped working. It ran, but it wouldn't get hot. So it turns out there was the safety relay for the heating element, right? And it blew, so I put a new one in. Well, about a year later, it blew again. So I said, to heck with that, and I just rewired the whole thing with thicker wire so it wouldn't have any problems, and that was 12 years ago, and it still works fine. I had to re-engineer the stupid thing. Well, you don't want to re-engineer your whole car. It's a pain in the butt, so try the ignition relay. That's a very common thing that makes those things do exactly what yours is doing. James, a second. I got a 2013 Mazda 3, 2-liter. A check engine light's on, and it says P0456. I know that's a small evaporative leak. Changed the gas cap, but didn't fix it. Help. I found this before on those. You tried and you almost fixed it, because if you get a small leak, it's off in the gas cap. But in the case of those Mazdas, they didn't make the filler neck that it screws into all that well. And often it's the filler neck. The gasket on the gas cap won't seal because the filler neck gets warped because it was made cheaply. Check that closely. Now, as a mechanic, what I do is I have a smoke machine and I inject the smoke into the system, and when I'd have the cap on, I would see smoke coming out because it's not sealing right, and that's how I figure it out. Now, if you don't have something like that, you might just guess with the filler neck, because I fixed them this way, and it's got to be a design flaw that Mazda has on that particular model. You could easily, and there are companies that do make aftermarket filler necks because it is a problem, so if you can find an aftermarket one, buy it. I don't advise going to a junkyard and buying a used one because it seems to be a pattern failure, and a used one might not be any good either. Well, GM's up to its old tricks. Now they're bragging about a secret 7th position tailgate on their Silverado pickup trucks. I'm sure you've seen the ads. They're magic tailgates that have 6 positions. Well, now there's a 7th secret one. They're not even telling anybody what it is. Yeah, talk about marketing baloney. Well, here's the 6 that already exist. The first one, of course, is with the gate is down. Pull the tailgate down. The second one, there's a foldable inner gate that lets you reach further into the bed. Then the third, you can open the tailgate into a footstep. Then it can be folded back into a folded load stop, or the stop can be closed for a chest level workstation. Now, I'm not saying what the secret 7th was, like this is some kind of Rubik's Cube or something, but they're really getting carried away with themselves. I mean, tailgates worked as tailgates forever. People worked on them before. There are all these multiple adjustment things. And the stinker is you can't get these fancy 7-step ones unless you buy the really expensive pickup trucks, which start at $45,000. So they're making you pay a lot for this fancy tailgate. Maybe buy a cheaper one and make your own tailgate. Another marketing ploy from General Motors. The secret 7th step. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.